We've been traveling. We are a little tired, but we got to do what we got to do, man. And that's give God glory, even through our mess, even through our pain. So
it's the deflection for me. It's the trying to pat the wife into her place for me. It's not our mess. It's your mess. You messed up. Hey gems, welcome back to my channel. It seems that there's a dark cloud hanging over Jacksonville. Yeah. So we're going to have a discussion about this because I think it's very much needed considering the message that he pumps out there for the past 9 years or so. So this is not going to be a bashing video. This is not going to be a video talking about if cheating is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Absolutely not. We are going to be discussing the body language, okay? The body language in the video that we're about to watch, the one that Derrick Jaxn and his wife put out first, in comparison to a snippet that I caught from his IG live of them talking. It's literally like night and day. So please make sure you stay till the end for us to have a discussion on that as well. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that, but the premise is this is how you take accountability and responsibility for your action despite your spiritual standing or your religious standpoint, okay? And just have a little discussion about spiritual bypassing where we hide behind God. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of gems in this video. So if you're excited for that, please don't forget to hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button and come join the family, because on this channel, we are on a journey back to wholeness so that we can create better connections with our partners. All right, let's just get right into it.
what's going on, guys? Derrick Jaxn here, and today I am joined by my lovely wife, Danae, and we just wanted to address a couple of things.
I know we're only 2 seconds in, but make sure you're keeping an eye on their body language. Derrick has been doing this for over 9 years. He's very comfortable talking in front of the camera. We have rarely seen the wife, at least I haven't. The only pictures I ever saw of the wife was their wedding pictures on IG, but she very much looks spaced out, okay? Very spaced out. She's got her bonnet on, and it just comes across that this video was quite rushed or maybe impromptu. But that's just an assumption, but let's just go.
You know, we understand that some of you may have already heard, maybe not, that this chapter of our marriage is one that was preceded by a marriage that I completely failed. And I would say it just started around August, maybe September of last year. But, you know, a lot has been said already about what was the cause and all that other stuff. Some of it is true, some of it is completely false. But the truth is, and I'm saying it here now, is that Derrick Jaxn was involved with other women outside the marriage. And by involved, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about just casually kicking it, maybe a lunch or something like that. I'm talking about as serious as sex, to sexual flirtation and meeting up and that kind of thing.
This doesn't sound like a man who is essentially apologizing or coming clean or coming to clear his name. It's as though he's teaching me something. I feel like he's trying to teach me something about why he's in his current predicament. I don't sense any sincerity. And I say that because I have watched his confession, which was more like a book launch, okay? It was more like a book launch because he made references to his books several times, and the apology and the truth did not come in. I actually watched the video through MTR. What up, YouTube? I am your host. Mediocre tutorials and review. Back again. I just had to do it with another video. I don't know if I did the impression well, but that is just the only way to ever say his name. Stay till later on in this video because I'm going to be sharing some male content creators that will hold you accountable. You will learn some very, very important gems in their videos just make sure you stay tuned for that. It's gonna come very soon. I ended up catching his confessions, so to speak, through MTR's channel, because Derrick actually put the video on private after it had gone live, and obviously I'm based in the UK, so I did miss it. So yeah, thankfully MTR had it. So when I watched the confession, he said he did not have sexual relations with any of the women, okay? And if anything, he picked this particular woman because they've never had sexual relations for the past 10 years. That's just how their relationship is like. That's how their relationship dynamic is like. They don't have sex, but they do everything else. So it's very interesting how in this video, he's just come out and said, actually, we did have sex, and it wasn't just her, it's other women. In the confessions video, for somebody who is honestly and genuinely taking accountability and responsibility and actually feels remorse for their actions, not because it came out, that would have been the main highlight and the foundation of the entire 40-minute or so live. But that isn't what I got. I got a book launch and a bunch of excuses as to why it was okay for him to do it before being saved. Okay, let's continue because we're literally only 2 seconds in. But I wanted to give you the background in case you hadn't watched his confessions. Now he's saying he actually did have sexual relations. That is hypocrisy. That is a lie. Considering you claim to be saved, but you chose to lie. Okay? I wonder why or what prompted him to actually tell the truth now. Maybe he did speak to a PR manager or something like that, because I know MTR did talk about that. If anything like that were to happen to someone in such high profile, it's an advisable thing to do. So maybe that's why their hands are so clasped together. I feel as though the hand is literally going to lose blood flow at some point. But let's go.
And some things that otherwise may be considered okay by some in terms of like just chatting or checking on people or being checked on by people that I've had a previous encounter with. But without my wife's knowledge of it and with us having a sexual history, all of it falls under the umbrella of inappropriate, cheating, affair, stepping out.
It's like he's talking about a third person. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this so far? It's not as though he's talking about himself. It's like he's beside himself, you know? But anyway, let's go.
Definitely not in alignment with the vows that I took. And definitely not in alignment with the biblical standard of what it means to be faithful, which is the standard that I'm going by now.
It's the standard that he's going by now. Okay, I don't know why he chose to go about it now, but there's something about morality. Pre-Jesus Christ, pre-being saved, I'm sure you knew that that wasn't a wise thing to do. You didn't need to be saved to know this, especially considering how vocal he is about not having any type of sympathy or remorse for people who cheat, and even said it explicitly that even if you are separated from your spouse, you should not be cheating.
But let me say this, I have no sympathy for a man who finds it to be difficult to be faithful after being in a promiscuous lifestyle, and neither should you. Nobody told you to be promiscuous before the relationship, and nobody made you be monogamous with just her. You don't want her? Let another man have her. Simple. But the truth is, you've probably been cheating months before you actually put your dick in her. And more times, I would say 9 times out of 10, when a dude gets caught cheating, that wasn't his very, very first time cheating. That wasn't his only time cheating. That was his only time getting caught. Let's be real. Outweigh all the good that you've done. Motherfucker, that one slip up might cancel all the shit that you've done.
Was he talking about himself all along, people?
I'm saying this publicly, not because I'm, married to you guys. First and foremost, I'm accountable to God. Then I have to be accountable to my wife, in which we've already had this conversation. I've already told her literally everything. I've given her basically a roll call list. If I've said hello to a woman in the last 12 years of me knowing her, she knows about it.
That's a lot to put on one person. Again, it's going to make sense in very soon why I say that. Because when I first watched this video, this was a classic example of someone who is in response mode rather than reaction mode. So when you stay closer to the end, when I show the IG live snippet, you will actually see something other than what we're witnessing here. But it's very interesting how he'll do a whole roll call. So it's not just one or two or three. I mean, there are quite a few.
But now that it's been made so public, it's important that I first off let you guys know I do not stand by those actions. I don't want to encourage anybody to do that. And then secondly, I know that I cannot build a platform preaching certain things, preaching against certain things, and then in my real life live contrary to that for any amount of time or any length of time to any extent, and think that I can't be held accountable. You know, the same way that I preach, you know, men and women in this situation need to face consequences of their actions, deserve to be held accountable. Guess what? Derrick Jaxn's no exemption. He's not exempt from that. I'm also not a victim. Nobody made me do this. She didn't make me or push me to do it. The next person didn't make me. No friend influenced me. It don't matter how I was raised and what trauma, whatever. Look, I made decisions. I made a series of decisions that I got to account for. There's no excuse or justification. I've already made that bet and have had to lie in it. And now we're finally getting on to the other side personally in our own healing, in our own marital oneness. And now this is being made public to you guys. So we're bringing that forth to you guys to let you know where we're at with that. But did you want to say anything?
Yes, so I do want to just add.
There was this look. Look, I'm very critical and I'm very observant. There's this look in Derrick's eyes when he's looking at his wife. It's to say you better be on cue, okay? You know, maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but I've seen that look before, especially with the hand clasping. Why is the hand not underneath his armpit? That kind of body language screams, I'm here to protect you. You know, I'm looking out for you. But this one is as though she did not want to be there. And he was like, no, you have to be here. So I'm holding your hand, whether you like it or not, because we have to show face. We have to save the Jaxn empire that we've built. But let's go.
I agree with what he just said. There is no justification for bringing other women into our marriage on any level. And it was unacceptable. And it's not something that I tolerate or that we tolerate moving forward. And when I've been flooded again with messages and these things and about, you know, I need to leave or why haven't I left? And the answer is, when I found out about it, I left. I did not hesitate or waste time to do so. And I stayed gone. No matter how many times he came, I stayed gone and stood firm on, I am not coming back. And I did not come back until I seen a shift and a change in his mentality and how he carried himself.
I do want to say something there. I'm assuming that the timeline connects when Derrick found God and became born again. I'm assuming that's what she's referring by having a mindset shift. Ladies and gentlemen, please, when you're going out onto the dating market and you want somebody who is God-fearing, make sure that you're actually God-fearing as well. And I mean that in action, not just words and just outwardly kumbayaing, okay? Because regardless of your mindset and being saved, you know right from wrong. There's some things that are just universally right or wrong. And he can come and say all these things and you can be very receptive of it. But he's very strategic. I think he knew exactly the type of woman he needed by his side in order to move forward. It would have to be someone who would be receptive to something like this going forward. Obviously, watching Kevin Samuels and knowing what he speaks on in terms of high value men or people being in that, top 10% or 20% earners and how they have options. You know, this is like a classic example of it. But on the flip side, or should I say the irony, is what Derrick Jaxn actually preaches is contrary to what he actually lives. Essentially, he was describing himself. He was very much against, you know, higher value and all of those things, and women taking accountability for anything. He's basically built his whole empire off of people's pain, mainly black women's pain. But anyway, I personally started watching Derrick properly probably some years ago, a couple of years ago, because I honestly needed to learn about what not to attract or what not to entertain. So his channel was very big on that. It's actually still very big on that. So if you want to know what to avoid, he talks about that. But then there came a point as I was watching, it just became very overwhelming and very repetitive and mundane. I didn't feel like I was growing. I didn't feel like I was learning anything new, you know. I didn't feel like I was being held accountable and responsible for my part to play. I didn't find that I thought, like, I wasn't critically thinking and really pondering about how I was in a relationship, because he was just telling me that it was the other person's fault, and point blank, period. That's why I enjoy watching some of these other male content creators, which I will talk about very soon. But let's go.
And how he presented himself in conversations that we were able to have that we had never been able to have in just 12 years of knowing each other. And when we were able to have these dialogues, said, okay, Lord, this is something that you've had your hand on, and this was with me being completely removed from his life, and him pursuing God, continuing to pursue God, and continuing to eliminate these things that led up to the catastrophe that you guys are seeing for the first time. So there's nothing out there right now that is information that I don't already know about or haven't known about. And so this is not something that is new. We have moved forward from it. We have gotten counsel for it and continue to.
I know she's mentioned that they've gotten counseling for it. I think as Christians, sometimes a lot of people are against actual professional, you know, psychiatrists, psychotherapists, actual therapy from professionals. I think it's very much needed, because I'm going to put some stuff on the screen. These are snippets from Danae, I think that's her name, the wife's Instagram page. And it's just the way she's talking and the message, or should I say the image that is portrayed on her page is a very God-fearing, scripture-abiding woman, but someone who's also been through some trauma and some pain, you know. And it's interesting how she refers to these things as demons. And I find that sometimes when we're not careful as Christians and we attribute so many of these things to demons, we kind of set ourselves aside from it, you know, and it doesn't allow us to take full ownership and responsibility and accountability for those decisions that we're happily partaking in. There's something called spiritual bypassing. I did a whole study on it, and I would love to actually share it considering the turn of events. And that's just when we as Christians decide to explain away our transgressions or our sins in place of actually taking accountability and responsibility, really staring at it and taking ownership that, you know what, I really messed up here. I genuinely messed up here. And it's as though we just hide behind God or this false pretense that, hey, once we do that, it kind of softens the blow of the actual repercussions of our actions. And I really dislike it when people do that, because when you genuinely build a relationship with God, that's when you are very raw and authentic with Him, with your struggles, you know. Granted, maybe because they're online, they're not really showing that side. But you need to understand, whatever you're portraying, you're putting out there online, essentially that is your actual thought pattern, or to a certain degree that is something you believe in, right? So for his confessions, for him to come across as hiding behind the fact that he did not know God, hence the reason why he committed adultery, I find that very bizarre and very hypocritical, because he goes in on the men, and he's not giving himself that same energy. And the funny thing is, because he's just really clasped onto this whole idea of God-fearing, this newfound faith, I know that a lot of his supporters will just be like, he's human, he's this, and continue absorbing his pandering and all sorts. Why? Because they themselves do not want to be held accountable. They themselves are broken and do not really want change, or they do not want the work that comes with the change that they so desire. So he may continue to grow, and I'm not saying that his empire needs to crumble or whatever. People can do whatever they want to do, but I'm just saying that, ladies and gentlemen, the people that you follow online, just be very careful. Be very careful. There's a time and a place for everything. I had my season where I did watch him, I did absorb his content, but there came a time where, do you know what, like how babies, they start with breast milk and then they go on to solids. That's where I was at. I finished the milk, I had to get into the solids. So I'm actually going to interject here and give you the people, the amazing men who have been helping me out on this journey, and me obviously paraphrasing some of their content, being inspired by their content, and obviously sharing it. So a couple of them is obviously MTR, which is Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, back again. I just gotta do that. Abbott and Preach are the new people that I've added to my male content creators that are they're just so diplomatic. I just love their approach, and they're very entertaining, like belly laugh entertaining. There's the Poor Man's Podcast, amazing guy. I absolutely love his content, and he's always got these very unique videos that he reacts to, and it's just so entertaining and very informative. It's very interesting to see how other human beings decide to live their lives. There's Tony Gaskins. I've been following him for a long time, probably around the same time as I found Derrick Jaxn. However, I find that Tony's much more realistic and his approach is very much balanced. And the next one is Stephan Speaks. Amazing gentleman as well. I love his content. He actually helps me to think, and I like to think because I like to grow, okay? And then the drum roll, money well. In the French toast, we are talking about the one and only God French toast father, Kevin Samuels. The only person that can get me out of character, I mean, like him and MTR and Amber and Preach, to be fair, all of them. But yeah, those are the people I would love you guys to check them out, especially if you really want to grow. And granted, some of their content, some of their approach is very direct, okay? They stick it onto you, but that is not a bad thing. Let me just interject again with another quote that I found online, which I find is very, very much appropriate for this time. And it says, "You have to learn the difference between someone disrespecting you versus you feeling disrespected. Emotional ears hear from a place of offense. Sometimes it's not what they said, it's what you are triggered by. And unless you know your triggers, you will see everything as an attack." And I think it's absolutely profound knowledge, because that's essentially how most of us, especially black women, are operating, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot in the process, and we waste our own time. I actually have a video coming up where I want to share how important it is to embrace our triggers. Yes, I want to help you develop a healthier understanding of what triggers are and how helpful it can be to your overall personal development. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button, because that video will be coming up very soon. Okay. I'm gonna pop the link down below for you to go and check the rest of the video. Essentially, people, we need to learn to separate our walk with God and our interactions and our connections with other fellow human beings. When we over spiritualize our choices, that's when we spiritual bypass, okay? We end up hiding behind a facade, a false pretense, you know, like, oh, I'm holy now, or trying to soften the blow of our actions. And that isn't an authentic way to approach taking responsibility and accountability for our actions. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Yes, we know God's plan. It was part of God's plan. It all happened for a reason. Yes, the Bible says no weapon formed against you shall prosper. But sometimes, especially in these cases, the weapon formed against us is ourselves. It's Derrick who got in Derrick's way, and now that's bled onto his wife, his children, and that's just something or a cross that they have to bear. And yes, God will use any and everything to make it work out for your good. However, that is a conditional blessing. It's a conditional blessing because the rest of that verse says, of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Are you in his purpose? It's a conditional blessing. We need to be very, very careful how we throw God around when we ourselves are the reason for our own downfalls. The grace of God, yes, will absolutely get us through anything, but counseling will help us not repeat those messy patterns over and over again, thinking that that is the only way out. People are angry because of the image and the message that he's been portraying all along. That's why people are upset. That's why there's this uproar, especially with black women. I'm so happy that, you know, I left that camp a long time ago, but I actually have a guest coming soon. She's got the fresh pain, and we're going to have a discussion about this. So make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Yeah, I don't want this video to be too long, so let's just watch a snippet from the Instagram live.
In a lot of aspects, and coming up on a year in other aspects. So this is something that takes time. It's a journey, but it's with inviting the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit in it, because by his stripes we are healed.
Absolutely. Thank you. I said you be snapping. Like,
listen, this is they okay. Don't know me, so
no, they don't. But don't.
I'm not snapping. So, I'm just telling you the truth. You want to know who I am and all these things. Well, this is who I am. I'm not going to fake anything. I know.
But they don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, they're getting to know. So now you know. Hello.
Well, you see, okay, I'm going to say this, and then you can absolutely cut me off and disagree. She's not used to, so I done seen so much said about me. I guess it just don't really faze me the same. It bounced off of me. The thing that I'm invested in, though, is people's encouragement to make it through their situation. Take Derrick out of it. Take Derrick out of it now. I want people to look at whether the content, I'm going to keep making content, and people can flood it with whatever they want to flood it with. Take Derrick out of it, though, and just gain from it something that you can use in your life. I have no doubt that's why I've been put on this earth, is to be that guidance, give that guidance for some people, but it ain't supposed to be about Derrick, and for too long it has been. Now, I'm used to seeing people talk. I've had false rumors said about me.
Do you not know that they had my picture in a blog and they were talking about how fat I was? I mean, this is before marriage. So their comments and their opinions don't matter to me.
You still snapping a little bit, though.
I don't care.
Okay.
Their opinions and their comments don't matter.
You see what I'm saying? This isn't the same lady who was in response mode. I find that this is more genuine. This reaction is what we are looking for. you know, essentially. That's what we're looking for because it's fresh. It's fresh pain. So this is something we can relate to. She actually feels pain. She's snapping. And that's natural. That's believable rather than kumbaya, by the grace of a God, I can hold your hand. No, don't do that. Don't lie to people. Being God-fearing isn't putting on a facade, okay? Like, and sync. No, it's saying, do you know what? We're both broken and we're really trying to work this out because we don't want to go our separate ways. And I'm not here to obviously manage somebody's marriage, but we're just critically analyzing this and see how Derrick is trying to pretty much hush her. But let's just keep going.
They're going to continue to talk. They're going to continue to have chatter and all these things, and that's fine.
But some of them are showing love, though.
I know a lot of you are showing love, and I appreciate that. And thank you so much for your encouragement. And then some of you are not, and that's fine. And I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's what she on, some pull up and holler at me type of, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, we're laughing and, you know, joking, and we're making some light of this, man, because we've already been through that storm of trying to get to this point. We've already been through that, man. So I know right now people are still shocked and pissed, and y'all have every right to be. Let me just be 100 with y'all. Y'all have every right to be. There's no excuse for Derrick. And all, like, some of y'all, man, really been sending videos to your man, be using them to work through stuff, the books and stuff like that. And then here comes Derrick throwing a question mark and all of that. I don't take that lightly. I really don't. But the biggest storm I had was on a personal level, and getting after that, being in God's grace now, I don't know, every day just kind of feels like a holiday. It ain't perfect. I ain't perfect. She ain't perfect. We still working through our spiritual counsel.
This is it. Thinking that once you're in Christ, the suffering ends. That's when the suffering begins, people. That's when the suffering begins. That's how character is built. Discipline. This is how you build the character. He's talking about this honeymoon phase after being saved, you know, being in God's grace. The weapons are formed, and I'm not putting it out there. If he thinks it's always going to be rosy like this because you're under the umbrella of God's grace, reality is going to hit him very soon, and I dare say he may go back to his old ways. Look at the people in the Bible. Most of them, you know, relapsed and went back into their old ways. And that's just part of the human nature. Being able to say, do you know what? I'm still broken. Even though I'm in the will of God, things can still happen. I would have rather that. I actually watched Kevin's video titled High Value Men Cheat. And it was just raw facts about the male species, okay? And he emphasized the importance of choice. You know, the person will choose to abstain. They will choose to stay faithful by you. But in their nature, if they're like in the top tier of men, they will exercise their options. Being realistic about that. Like a man who just comes up front and says that, that's someone you can trust because he's been upfront about you. You can then make an informed decision about your involvement, you know, rather than this saying that, you know, it's been rosy and it's like I'm on holiday. But what happens when you come back to earth and the stuff starts to happen? Let's go.
We're not going to talk about everything here. Really want to do a follow-up. People really think that, you know, you my little puppet doormat, and I think they got the idea that that's not the case.
No, absolutely not. They don't know about me.
But you know,
okay.
It's, you know, other stuff too. We still grieving the loss of my father. I had 3 deaths in 2.5 weeks.
It's the deflection for me. It's the trying to pat the wife into her place for me. It's as though they'd rehearsed it and said, you need to stay on cue. And it was though, you know, the pain had finally set in because she's reading comments. She's being triggered, you know, and she's seeing these things. So the real her that, you know, is coming out. The pain is coming. You're human. It's okay to be a Christian, God-fearing, and still embrace pain, shame, guilt, and all of these things. It's when we have a skewed and a marred and warped idea of what God-fearing is, that's when we can't be authentic. Let's go.
We've been traveling. We are a little tired, but we got to do what we got to do, man. And that's give God glory, even through our mess, even through our pain. So
it's not our mess. It's your mess. You messed up. It's like putting all of this on the woman and she's just not having it. Have you ever been in a position where you've acted so much, you've put on a front so much, and then all of a sudden there was a glimpse of hope, i.e. a camera on you, and you just wanted to scream like, help me? I've been there before. Because people can see through the facade. You end up cracking. Like Derrick's face is like, make sure you don't act out of character, okay? It's Team Jaxn here. It's never really been about you. These are my people. They like me. So make sure you don't upset them. That's what I'm getting here. I'm getting an empire that's for Derrick Jaxn. Not necessarily Derrick Jaxn and Danae. He's not letting her speak because essentially it's not about her at the end of the day. He's making it about her. But business-wise, it was never about her.
any last thoughts?
No, again, I just say thank you to everybody who is supporting or encouraged. And again, I just say, guys, this type of thing can happen, so be encouraged. I'm good. I'm not stressed out. I'm not heartbroken or any of these things. I'm healed. So I just give all praise, honor, and glory to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's it.
See that thing. What is this? She's meant to be the victim in this, but it's like he's just laughing about it. What's so funny is because you're gonna see in the next clip. Let me just let you watch it.
What?
Yo, you went straight up juice on them, man.
Listen, it is what it is. Everybody's gonna have
Love
something
y'all.
to say.
Appreciate everybody who's still supporting. There's gonna be some people who say, Derrick, we can't rock with you no more. And like I said in the video, it's still nothing but love. If I was at a place before I learned the extent of grace and the importance of grace, I absolutely was on the same type of time. Cancel him. He did this, he did cancel him. But thank God for his grace. And as a recipient of that grace, now I look forward to, y'all have already seen over the last couple of months, but seeing that grace play out through my platform.
Do not use God's grace haphazardly, okay? His grace came at a cost. His blood on the cross. Don't take grace so cheaply, people.
For whoever decides to stay. So I'm rocking with y'all. I hope that you continue to rock with me. Much love. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here now, though. I think we talked enough.
But yeah, I'm not really invested in them like that, in terms of their marriage. My focus is more on the message that he's been posting or that he's been pumping for all of these years, and how people can feel as though they've been betrayed in a way because they did, to a certain degree, idolize Kevin Jaxn, never Derrick Jaxn. So yeah, I can understand the uproar and people just getting into their feelings about it. But what are your thoughts on this? Not about the marriage, not about the cheating, as in if she should have stayed or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the message he puts out there versus his actions and who he was actually talking about all along. Do you sense any sincerity in his apology? Do you think he's just saving his face, damage control because of the business side of his empire? Let's have a discussion on that. But I know what I am looking forward to this week, and that is the smoke show. Kevin Samuels has a free smoke show coming up very soon this week. I think it might be Friday, but I'm excited for him to also drop his wisdom and his gems on this particular event that is happening. But yeah, until next time guys, take care and God bless.